Assalamu alaikum. Among the doubts that some people are spreading is what we find in the book of Sahih Muslim, hadith number 309, where Anas narrates that the Prophet ﷺ used to be going around his 9 wives by one bathing, ghusl. We're not going to discuss now the issue of being able to do that. We know that the Prophets are blessed in their power, in everything, in their time. We're going to discuss, does he take one bathing for all his wives? The answer is, he did it to show the permissibility of doing so, while it is better in his perspective to do for every time, every sexual intercourse, to take a special bathing for this. The evidence is what have been narrated by Musnad Ahmad, that the Prophet ﷺ used to be going around them, and he used to be taking a bath with each one of them. Every time he passes by one wife, he takes a bath. Then he goes to the other one. So it was said to the Prophet ﷺ, O Prophet, what about making only one bathing for all of them? He said, this is more hygienic and pure and better. So 3 things. He mentioned azka, that had been narrated in Musnad Ahmad, volume 39, page 288. So now, this is very clear. He made it sometimes as in one, in order to show people that this is allowed. But then, he used to be taking a bath after going around every wife. And he said, this is better. So that's his teaching. The other issue is that he used to be also passing by every wife, but the one whose turn that night is to stay with her, he used to be passing by his wives min ghayri masis, as it had been narrated by Abu Dawood, hadith number 1868. Min ghayri masis, that means without the complete kind of sexual intercourse, which means kindness, touching, maybe hugging, etc., but not the whole sexual intercourse. But the one whose turn among his wives is that night, then he makes it complete with her, which requires taking the bath. So now it is very clear. He used not always every night to do one bathing after passing by all of his wives. No, he showed by that the permissibility of doing it, while he used to be preferring to take a bath passing by every wife. And he has another case that he passes by without making the complete sexual intercourse, which means the sexual contact, the complete sexual contact, and I don't need to mention details, I think it is understood. So that is very clear. What is the evidence of this? Now, we know that it doesn't mean that all of his wives should be necessarily ready. You know that menstruation, period, some of them have a period. So we should not be taking this hadith literally. That means he has to make the complete sexual intercourse with each one of them. Many among them at that night, they may be having the period. Maybe 3, maybe 5. God knows. The other issue is, who told you that the Prophet ﷺ, if he did not take a bath, he does not take wudu? Now, we have 2 things, and I think every Muslim knows it. We have wudu, which is called in English ablution, and that is to wash your face, wash your hands to the elbow, rubbing the head, round kind of rubbing, cleaning the ears, and then washing the feet. We call that wudu. This is partly kind of bathing. And there is no ablution that can take place unless the private part should be washed, especially if the person ejaculated or etc. Washing the private part is, in this case, obligatory. So every ablution must be preceded by washing the private part. So let's say that he is to be taking wudu ablution without taking a bath. The Prophet used to be doing this. He used not to sleep without wudu, even if he needs to take a bath. Sometimes the person feels lazy, so he doesn't want to take the whole bathing. So he takes a partly kind of bathing, which is, as I mentioned, we call it ablution. The other issue is not taking a bath. It doesn't mean that the Prophet did not take ablution, as I mentioned before. The evidence is this. The Prophet ﷺ said, if one of you intercoursed his family, that means his wife, family means wife, and he wants to return, that means to do it another time, let him take wudu, for it is more active for his return. It is more active for his return. This hadith is narrated by Ahmad and Muslim, hadith number 277, and Abu Dawood, hadith number 172, and Tirmidhi, hadith number 61. So the Prophet here is advising, giving an order that if you want to return to do it again, take wudu between them. Even the second Caliph Umar asked the Prophet about a night that he passes in while he is in the status of janaba, that means he ejaculated but did not take a bath. Then the Prophet said to him, rinse your private part and perform ablution, and then you can sleep. So he allowed him to take the minor bathing, which is ablution, if he became lazy from taking a bath. So that explains something, that even if the Prophet passes by all of his wives, it doesn't mean that he doesn't take wudu if he did not take ghusl, which is the, let's call it major bathing. Ghusl means major bathing. That means to pour the whole water on your whole body. The partly bathing, we call it wudu, and that is to wash some of your parts. To rinse the mouth, to wash the face, the hands, to rub on the head, and to wash the feet. Minor bathing, major bathing. So there's another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, if one of you had done his sexual intercourse with his wife and he wants to return, let him make between the two turns wudu, minor bathing. And that hadith is authentic, hadith number 220. So the doubt had vanished now, that even the Prophet, if he took one major bathing, ghusl, it does mean that he used not to take a partly bathing in between every wife. And as I mentioned before, that performing wudu cannot take place without washing, rinsing the private part. The other thing is janaba. Janaba means the status of a person after he ejaculates. We call it janaba, which requires necessarily, obligatory, to take a bath. Especially if you want to pray. And that's what we mean. You can spend a period of time, for example, if you want, but to perform a prayer, no way. You have to wash yourself from this janaba. Janaba is a status of a person where he had ejaculated or entered his private part into his wife's private part. This, even if he did not ejaculate, This case requires obligatory. It requires to take a bath. Whether you delay it, postpone it, that's another issue. But you cannot perform a prayer. You cannot fast unless you take a bath from this. Okay. Now, this issue, if a person remains as junub, that means he is in the status of janaba, that means he ejaculated, or he entered his private part into his wife's private part. The person does not become dirty. No. This is not dirtiness. In a matter of fact, the urine is dirty, while the sperm is not dirty. It is not dirty. Yes, it requires bathing, while urine doesn't require bathing, partly bathing, wudu, ablution. So that doesn't mean that the sperm, semen, it doesn't mean that the person becomes dirty. What is the evidence? Abu Hurairah, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, he passed by the Prophet, and as he saw the Prophet, he avoided him and he went to take another way. Then the Prophet asked him, "Oh Abu Hurairah, I saw you a while ago. Where did he go?" He said, "Oh Prophet, I was junub. That means I have ejaculated. And I hated to sit with you while I am not on a status of purification, while I'm not pure." Then the Prophet said, the mu'min, the believer, does not become dirty. This period, without taking a bath after sexual intercourse, does not make a person dirty. It is not dirt, as some Christians they call Mary, that she became pregnant without dirt. Sexual intercourse is not a matter of dirt. Okay, so this hadith is authentic by agreement of all scholars of hadith. So the semen that gushes out or discharges from the person, this is not dirtiness. Even if the person ejaculated without entering his private part into his wife, this sperm is not dirty, unlike the urine. Yes, it is dirty, but it doesn't cause the major bathing. What is the evidence? Aisha radiallahu anha, when accidentally some of the semen falls on the cloth, after a while it becomes dry. So Aisha, his wife, she used to be taking it like this by her nail, removing it by her nail. If it's dirty, no, there is no way to do it except to rinse it with water. If it's just like urine, if some urine was falling here, you cannot remove it like this by your nail, but you can do that with a sperm. The question is now, for those they are disgusted by taking one shower for multi-sexual intercourses, do they have anything in their Bible that regulate us or instruct us about all of these details? There is nothing. They should rather be discussed from what we find in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9, verse 4, or the opposite, chapter 4, verse 9, where God ordered Ezekiel to eat his own dung. Now, isn't this disgusting? Would you ever believe that God gives such order to his prophet, his righteous man at least? So show us in your book any statement that requires the person to take a bath after he ejaculates or intercourse with his wife, making intercourse with his wife. Nothing. And a matter of fact, if there's something disgusting, according to the Bible, is not to be circumcised. Not to be circumcised. Even the Bible says this person, such person, should not be entering Jerusalem because he is dirty. So All of these details Christians do not know about. But we have much more detailed issues about matters of purification that prove that this religion is the religion of Allah the Almighty. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.